All right, Boker Tov, Shalom Aleichem. Good morning and peace be upon you. This is Mikael again. Want to first give all praise to the Most High for allowing me to see another day and blessing me with life, health, and strength. All praises. Want to get into some morning reflections again today. Today is April 11th, 2014. Or you can say Abib 11th in the year 5999. We'll get to that in a little bit. Because today we're going to talk about the calendar of the Most High as relates to the salvation of humanity through the nation of Israel. That's right. Salvation of humanity through the nation of Israel as relates to the appointed times or the calendar of the Most High. You know, just 3 short days or 3 short nights away, we're going to have the Feast of Pesach leading into Chag Matzot, or the Festival of Unleavened Bread, and also with the Festival of First Fruits as a part of that. That commences the Holy Year calendar, or the calendar of the holy years, or holy seasons, the holy days for Yah. These are His appointed times. A lot of individuals who have a more of a New Testament faith say that these are Jewish or Israelite observances and want to say that they're, from the law of Moses, without really understanding that Yah appointed these times Himself. And Yah, of course, being Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King, He appointed these times and gave them to Israel to then give to the rest of the nations, to teach them how to worship Him in spirit and truth. And so the Festival of Unleavened Bread that commences with a moment in time, which is called Pesach, the moment that the lamb, the Paschal lamb, is offered, is the actual commencement of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It is also commemorated with a Seder meal, which there are some specimens of food that are eaten to symbolize the redemption that was wrought by the Father's hand as Israel first came out of Egypt. And we'll get into that more later in some other video logs. But today we're going to just focus on the general calendar as relates to salvation. And so again, the first of the holy days commences with the Festival of Unleavened Bread, that is preceded by a moment in time known as Pesach or Passover. Okay. You also have within that the Festival of First Fruits. The Festival of First Fruits is when you bring the first of the year's grain to the storehouse, and the harvest, which particularly with Passover and unleavened bread, the spring feast, and we'll get to those, deal with the barley harvest. Okay, so this is barley. It relates to the early fruits of the year. Okay, we may get into that. That's really a little matter that's more meaty, that we may wait a while to touch upon that. So after the Festival of Unleavened Bread, which commences on the evening of the 14th of Abib, this year also commencing on April 14th, going for 7 days, gives you the last day of Passover, of unleavened bread, is the first holy day of the year, in which there are 3 in 1: Passover, unleavened bread, and the Feast of First Fruits. 50 days from the initial Passover, or from the moment of Passover, which is a Sabbath, you count 50 days and you arrive at another holy day, another appointed time. And these are all recognized as scripture identifies by the moon cycle. Okay, so when you see the new moon, that is when you begin counting the days. A lot of people unfortunately relate this to the Sabbath as well, that the Sabbath is every seventh day of the new moon, and that is an erroneous teaching that scripture does not support, in that the seventh day of the week is always considered the Sabbath. Okay, not the seventh day of the month. This is seventh day of the week, not the month. And the Sabbath is a weekly festival that the Father has given his people to rest in him, and also to be marked and identified by him. And so after you have the 50-day count, you arrive at the feast of what in Hebrew is called Shavuot, or the Feast of Weeks, or Pentecost. Okay, Penta being a number of fives, of course 50. And of that, of course, initially was when Yah delivered the covenant to Israel with the Torah on Mount Sinai, that not only included the 10 commandments, but also included the rest of the 613 laws that related. You notice Moses went up on the mount twice and received 2 sets of tablets, but also other instructions. So a lot of times we just look at the 10 commandments as the only eternal instructions, while the entire corpus of law of Torah was given to him as well in those 40 days. And those are also in the ark, were placed in the ark as well, with the 5 books of Moses known as Torah, which contain the instructions. So that is Pentecost. Those are the spring feasts. Okay, so you have in essence 4 festivals in spring. 4, okay? You have, again, just to refresh and remind, repetition, of course, being the best form of instruction. You have Passover, unleavened bread, Feast of First Fruits, and then you have Shavuot, or Feast of Weeks, okay? In between that is a period of just reflection and, of course, continued observance, with the Sabbath being always honored and recognized throughout each of these. The 7th day Sabbath, of course, which is Shabbat. The 7th day that the Gregorian calendar identifies as Saturday. Friday night to Saturday night is when the Sabbath is, according to Scripture. And you can go all the way back to Genesis 1 and 2 to see that. But you get into the fall season, and the fall has with it 3 holy days. Okay? The first in the fall is called Yom Teruah, which is the Day of Trumpets. It is also called by Rabbinic Judaism as Rosh Hashanah, or Rosh Hashanah, which is the head of the year. And this begins the civil year calendar, whereas the festival of Passover begins the spiritual year calendar. But the civil year calendar this year, interestingly, will be the year 6000, which will be a Jubilee. Jubilee is a 50-year release, a 50-year rest period that will be marked by the returning of all inheritances to its possessor, its original possessor. So it's going to be a very intense year this year, the year 6000. As we're entering it in the fall. So you have the Festival of Trumpets, which prophetically has not been fulfilled, whereas you have the fulfillment of the spring festivals taking place with the matter of Golgotha and in the upper room, okay, and the resurrection. Those 3 events prophetically brought those feast days, those appointed times, to their fullest realization, not to their end, their completion, in the sense that the goal had been met. It is not ended. It is not complete to the sense that it is now no longer observed. These are eternal memorials. All right. And so Yom Teruah, the Festival of Trumpets, has not yet been prophetically fulfilled. So then that commences on the first day of the 7th month. Okay, so you count 7 new moons from Abib, or 6 moons from Abib. Sorry, 7 from Abib, and you have the Feast of Trumpets. On the 10th day of that same month of Yom Teruah, or the Feast of Trumpets, you have Yom Kippur, or what is known as the Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement is also understood as Judgment Day. Okay? This too has not yet been prophetically fulfilled. The judgment has not yet taken place. So we are still awaiting the judgment, which is why, again, these appointed times, these holy days, these feast days are so crucial to observe, because they put us on the time scale of the Father. People always talk about, God's always on time. He's always on time. But more times than not, they have no clue about the time frames of the Most High and how He reckons time. And so we have to keep these in mind and in observance to really understand how Yah operates in time. Okay, so the 10th day of the month, you have Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, or the Day of Judgment, which is a fast day. All these other days are feast. This is the only commanded scriptural fast in the Word. The only fast that is commanded from sun up to sundown. From sundown to sundown. That is a complete day of what they call afflicting your soul. Okay? That is what Yom Kippur is about, as we strive to make atonement and to be cleared of all wrongs and all vows that we have knowingly and unknowingly made, and so that Yah may make atonement and we may be at one with the Most High again. All right, so that is Yom Kippur. 15 days into the same month commences what is known as Chag Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Booths. Okay, this is a matter of Israel gathering into the land, living in booths. Well, we'll get to the gathering in the land later, but Israel dwelling in booths wherever their dwellings may be, in order to remember the wilderness experience of our ancestors. Okay, so that is what this is about, to remember the wilderness experience of our ancestors, to dwell in booths. But it also ultimately points to when Yah will dwell with His people again. Okay, and we will be the eternal tent. We will be the indwelling, or the dwelling place for the Spirit to dwell. And that is also going to be an 8-day festival. The first day, the last day, Shemini Atzeret, the last great day. The 8th day is also understood as the wedding feast between heaven and earth. That is the true wedding. Out of these 7 feast days, you have 3 which are commanded to be pilgrimages, which relate to unleavened bread, which relates to Shavuot, or Pentecost, or the Feast of Weeks, and also Tabernacles. These 3 are also commanded pilgrimages to present yourself to Yah in Jerusalem, in the Holy Land, with an offering made of fire. Of course, that is ourselves today, being that the temple does not stand and no sacrifices can be made, and the ultimate sin and guilt offerings have been fulfilled as well back during the Feast of Pesach. And so you have these 7 holy days that relate to salvation, in the sense that when you find yourself at the appointed time in the appointed place, you will experience Yah's salvation. This is what this ultimately comes down to. And the prophetic nature of these festivals, these holy days, of which 4 have been fulfilled and 3 are awaiting fulfillment. The prophetic nature of these has not yet been fully realized and brought to a fullness. Nor have we yet entered the 7th day true Sabbath rest. Okay, I'm reasoning with an individual now who's telling me that who he identifies as Jesus Christ is the Sabbath rest, whereas Scripture does not speak of anything of that nature. What it does speak about is that He will lead us into that Sabbath rest. Okay, and I know Him as another name, Mashiach Yahushua, of course. But that is what will lead us into the true Sabbath rest. As Yahushua ben Nun led Israel into the promised land, so will Yahushua ben Yosef lead Israel into the true Sabbath rest of the seventh day, which will commence the Messianic kingdom, or the millennium reign of Messiah in Jerusalem, when the world will be ruled in righteousness and under righteousness and with truth and mercy, justice, love, compassion. And this is what this all comes down to. You can read all of the holy days in Leviticus 23. They give you a very in-depth and detailed description of when they are to be observed. Not really so much what the day entails, but they do let you know that they are Sabbath rest. They are Sabbath rest. All 7 holy days are Sabbath rest. So when you count what Yah has given his people, you have 52 weekly Sabbaths, right? Then you have 7 holy day Sabbaths. So that gives us 59. Then you count into it the new moon Sabbaths. You add another 12, right? 71. So you have 71 rest days in the year. 71 is a very interesting number, because in the Sanhedrin there were 71 men who, including the high priest, who actually rendered judgments for the nation of Israel. So again, these holy days are very important as relates to our salvation, and if we observe them in accordance with what Scripture provides, according to the spirit of the day, then we will find ourselves truly entering into the Sabbath rest of the Most High. Go ahead and reflect on that as I reflected on it. Most of these, of course, are impromptu, but all praise to the Most High for what He has shared through me prayerfully. If anything is of truth, you give all praise and esteem to the Father. If there's any error, please, may it be not rooted in you, but may it be separated from you as far as east is from west, and so that you may truly seek to know what the true will of the Most High is. With that, I want to go ahead and bid you all adieu, and pray that Yah bless you and keep you, that He lift His face up upon you and shine His countenance upon you, and that He lift up His face unto you, and that He gives you peace. One love. Shalom Aleichem.